Hi guys, I am Tavia. Welcome to the Kingston Creative Hub. Welcome to the Meetup. But let's take a little tour of the space first. I mean, if you've not been down here, you need to come. It's such a beautiful space. This is a hotspot section, so you can pick a spot and work. You see persons working here. Let me take you to the podcasting studio. It's a very nice and cozy spot. You can take a peek inside.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, I know. Everybody wants to start a podcast now. Well, not today. And of course, we have April doing a live shoot. So you have the swing storm over there. You can come and swing and probably do an ad with them sometime. So there you have it, guys. Let's go and start the meetup. Today we're talking about creating opportunities in the cultural. So let's talk about it. Let's go. So you have the swing storm over there. You can come and swing and probably do an ad with them sometime. Welcome to the Kingston Creative Meetup. Wow, it's so nice to be in a physical space, in a very beautiful space at that, in downtown Kingston. And of course, tonight we're talking about creating opportunities in the cultural space. And to start us off, we're going to talk to Andrea Dempster-Chung. She's with me right here, and she is the everything called Kingston Creative. Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Tavia. It's so good to be back downtown, 6 feet apart, with the sanitizer. We're not joking, folks. We're keeping it safe.
So, Andrea, talk to us about the Kingston Creative 2021 roadmap. What's that?
Yeah, I would love to run us through the roadmap. So, hi everybody. Welcome to those in Kingston, those around Jamaica, those around the world. We are back. And we're here in F&B downtown in the new Kingston Creative Hub, which is upstairs. And if there's one bright side to this whole pandemic, it's that we can now reach further than we did before.
As you say that, Andrea, can we actually remind them to use the hashtag? The hashtag is creating opportunity. So
yes,
if you want to tell people to join the live on YouTube and Facebook, use the hashtag creating opportunity. And you can also share in the conversation. If you're posting on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, share that hashtag so that everybody can be a part of the chat.
Yeah, so if my slides could be queued up, that would be awesome. Yeah, so I was just saying that, the good thing about COVID, if there is a bright side, because I'm always looking for the silver lining, is that the digital that we've been forced to use has kind of grown our audience. Mm-hmm. And so even though we're back in person, we're keeping this audience. And as we reemerge and add even more people in person, we're still going to keep the link with people in diaspora and people around the world. So that's our one benefit. So I had to dig hard to find it, but that's our benefit. So, for example, at our meetups, and there should be a photo of our meetup coming up for you guys. At our meetups, we would have had like 50 or 60 people live in the audience coming in and joining the discussion, and everything that was said was heard by just those people who were in the space. So since COVID, there was one meetup, Tavia, where we had like people from 5 different countries actually online, and we said, wow. So we're keeping it. We're going physical and digital, we're keeping it, and we'll be here live at the Creative Hub as we reemerge over this year with you guys. So, the big news this year is that 2021 is the United Nations Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development. So, as a tiny little arts NGO who has been waving their hands and saying, oh my God, creative economy, it's the way to go.
I don't think you can say tiny again, Andrea, I'm sorry.
No, we're tiny, we're tiny. We've been here, developing creative people and developing creative places, all to catalyze growth in the creative economy. And so this is really inspiring for us. And so a little bit later, we're going to talk to Stephen Hignell, who is from an international consulting company called Nordicity. And Stephen's going to talk about what that really means, what does it mean? And more importantly, what can we make it mean? Because as Carol Beckford, noted CCI specialist, she said this morning on Twitter, we creatives must not wait for opportunity, we've got to create it. So there's our hashtag. Tell us again, Tavia.
Creating opportunity.
That's right. So just before we look forward at our roadmap, let's take a look back at the year that was. I don't even want to say the words 2020. But we started 2020 actually on a high by winning the RJR Gleaner National Honors Awards for Arts and Culture. And that was a prestigious win for such a tiny little young organization. But then without warning, we were hit by the pandemic. And like everybody else, we had to really pivot. So we came together, as a team, we started thinking out the box. And of course, we really realized how vulnerable our creative community is. And almost 1 year on, we're still really in that vulnerable space. And so we're going to be speaking to Scott Dunn a little bit later as well, specifically about the festivals and events part of our sector and how we can bolster what's happening with them. But what we did was we achieved, masks for downtown, 2,100 masks, and we employed artisans in the community.
Wow.
Then we had Catapult, a Caribbean Arts Grant, and that gave COVID relief for 1,210 creatives in 26 countries, and that was a $47 million grant. And then we've given out digital creative training. Over 4,000 attendees have benefited from training in digital skills, but not just digital like how to get online, how to do social media, but how do I protect my creative IP when I'm in the digital space? How do I manage bigger projects that are now online and in a physical shop? So we did a lot of training, and we're going to continue on that. We also managed to do community outreach and train 50 youth in 5 marginalized communities. We opened spaces, physical spaces like the Kingston Creative Hub, as well as the Artisan Store, which is on Ocean Boulevard. And we kept our virtual events going, the Art Walk, the Meetup, even the IG Emerging Talk that Tavia actually hosted. All of those kept going through the pandemic. And then I think our most visible win for 2020 was Paint the City, because now we're up to a total of 63 murals in downtown Kingston.
Wow. Can you say that again?
63 murals since we started, and it's really changed the game. People go down and they feel different about downtown. There's lots of pretty stuff to see, so come on down when you can.
For those who actually have never visited these murals, could you tell them where it spans? So when you come, where can you go to actually experience these murals?
Well, come down Church Street, at the intersection of Church Street and Water Lane. That's really your kind of epicenter. And then you can go east towards the National Museums, or you can go west towards the National Gallery of Jamaica. So Water Lane is that art lane that kind of connects those spaces, and we'll be adding more and more murals as we go, with the help, of course, of our sponsors, Tourism Enhancement Fund and the Kingston St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. So this, back to our roadmap and what we're doing for 2021, this is where we're heading. This is where we hope our roadmap will take us, towards a healthy creative ecosystem, right? So you all can see the slide, and this is our long-term goal. We want there to be, in Jamaica, a place where creatives can thrive. And in countries that really make their creative economy work, they have these 6 things. They have art funds, they've got studio spaces, innovation centers, training programs, big festival spaces, communicators, and yeah. But the question for you, as we look at creating opportunity, I would say to everybody, what are you going to do to help create these opportunities? Are you going to be the one to launch that art fund? Are you going to be the arts writer that gets the word out about all the amazing stuff happening in the Jamaican creative space? Are you going to be starting a new festival, for example, or launching new training programs? Are you going to launch that arts think tank that we need? Or are you going to turn that old warehouse in downtown into artist studios? Everybody gets to play a part, and then we all get there together. So for new people who are just joining us, I should stop and say, what is Kingston Creative? Hi. I've just been carrying on as if everybody knows, but what is Kingston Creative? It's a non-profit arts organization founded in 2017. And we believe in collaboration. We work with private, public, third sector partners, and we're always focused on empowering creative people and transforming downtown Kingston, people and place. So our vision stays the same. Kingston is a creative city. We've been saying it for the last 4 years. UNESCO designated us as a creative city of music, and we want to make it not just a UNESCO designation, but something that's real and tangible and vibrant for the people who live here. And then our mission, of course, is to enable creative people to be successful, and our objectives, they remain unchanged. We're going to create an art district in downtown Kingston, develop the creative hub, achieve creative economy growth, develop a healthy creative ecosystem, and of course we want to create a sustainable model. It's not just about downtown Kingston. I'm sure you all know of many towns and little cities and even villages that could benefit from having a creative space. So at this point, I guess we want to say thanks to all of our wonderful partners who got us here. It's really important that we pause and thank all of these wonderful partners that we have. And now for 2021, helping us on this roadmap is going to be a new partner. Who's it going to be? It's going to be the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB Labs specifically. We're going to be partnering on a new program that will have lots of opportunity for Jamaican creatives. It's called Create Tech. Remember I was talking about how digital is pushing us forward, growing our audiences? We're going to be really focused on accelerating what creatives do using technology. So you can look out for these specific opportunities coming from Kingston Creative, new online platforms, free training, investor pitch and funding competitions, hackathons, creative accelerators, incubators, shared services that will be offered through our Creative Hub downtown, exchange programs where you get to go to another incubator in Latin America and the Caribbean, different networking opportunities, creative industries fora, databases, business incentives, e-commerce platforms, tourism linkages. It's going to be really, really awesome. And of course, we're going to stick to our core business of public art, painting murals, art events like the Art Walk, and just working towards a balanced, inclusive development of the art district, aka just say no to gentrification. Okay? So there's loads of opportunities. So I'm gonna stop now. I'm gonna leave you with a quick reminder that this last Sunday is the Art Walk, and although there's no Market Street because you know COVID, we're encouraging everybody to come downtown and visit the Artisan Store. The Artisan Collective, it's on Ocean Boulevard. It's gonna be open all Sunday. And of course, the next one more reminder for you. Next slide, is to see you on Sunday, 12 noon, same place, YouTube, right here. The Art Walk will be here, and of course the theme is dance. And so that's it. Everybody, walk good.
So Andrea, we know they can catch up with Kingston Creative on Instagram at Kingston Creative JM. If a creative is watching and they want more information about some of these opportunities, other than the pages, is there another way they can get in touch with Kingston Creative?
They definitely can email us directly. So info@kingstoncreative.org. If you're an artist and you're saying, how can I get plugged into these murals? Email us. We will respond and we'll get you put on as soon as these things are coming out. But social media is going to be the way that we're going to be, sharing all these with the world.
Digitally, of course.
Yeah, so follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and you'll be sure to hear what's going on, even in our Facebook group.
Well, thank you so much, Andrea. I mean, Kingston Creative has always been giving, creatives a lot of opportunities to just expand. I mean, the new grant you just spoke about, it's pretty much tripling what was done already and adding some.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. But what's really nice is that the IDB is an established partner. They have a lot of experience in this area, and it's a 3-year grant. So it's not like, okay, we're in and we're out. They're here for the duration. So we really all have a chance to make something of this opportunity.
That's really wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
So welcome.
And I'm sure they're all looking forward to it. So keep up with Kingston Creative. You can follow them on Instagram at Kingston Creative JM, and there you'll get all the information that you need. Now, if you're just joining us, this is the Kingston Creative Meetup. We are live in the beautiful downtown Kingston. We're at the Kingston Creative Hub, and just about now, we are going to be listening to the talk with Stephen Hignall. This is our pre-recording interview with Andrea Dempster-Chung. So let's listen in.
21, the Kingston Creative Networking Meetup, we are back. And we're so excited to be here today. We are actually interviewing Stephen Hignall. Now, Stephen is the Associate Director at a firm called Nordicity, based in London. And Steve is going to tell us a little bit about
interview to come up. Let me tell you a little bit about who Stephen is. He's an expert in cultural strategy.
It's
and
awesome
he's going to be talking to Andrea about
just for everyone who may not know Nordicity.
Let's see.
Networking Meetup, we are back. And we're so excited to be here today. We are actually interviewing Stephen Hignall. And Steve is going to tell us a little bit about the work they've been doing in Jamaica. And so
just for everyone who may not know Nord.
Let me just ask you, Andrew,
Sure.
some of the digital trainings that have been happening, what has the response been like from some of the creatives, being exposed to this new way of doing things?
Oh, the response has been really, really positive. A lot of the creatives have been asking for their certificates. Like, we've been giving free trainings and not thinking about certification, but they've been so, inspired by it that they've been saying, we want certificates. And that actually led to us signing an MOU in December with Heart, so that we can now offer actual certificates that can help you to progress in your creative career.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
And have we been seeing them creating or changing their business models to, make it more digital?
Absolutely. Now, this was part of the Catapult grant. We actually had something called a consultancy voucher. So the creatives were able to hire a consultant to build new online platforms for themselves. So, there's tangible evidence and then, of course, they got the training to be able to manage it.
Oh, wow.
So you put those two together, and then there's a creative that's now making sales on platforms that I didn't even know
and
about.
welcome to the
where you can take your drawing and make it into a clock, and like people all over the world are buying her clock with her little sketch on it. So she's like, so it really does work. I got an email saying, hey, I made 3 sales over the weekend. And I was like, oh, it works,
Nice. That's nice. I mean, I saw Globe outside with one of the murals in it. Is that also an example of how they've been just kind of expanding?
No, that was a Christmas present from the team.
Guys, you want to see it? I want to see it.
It was Joshua Solis' mural. His mural of Toots
very
Hibbert.
cute.
Yeah, it was made into a little snow globe. So now it's on my desk, even though it's not snowing and it's not Christmas. But it reminds me of the lovely water lane that's right behind us.
All right, wow, nice, lovely.
And so I'm wondering if we're any closer to hearing from Stephen, or if maybe we want to keep Stephen till the end.
Or should we?
The Kingston Creative Networking Meetup, we are back. And we're so excited to be here today. We are actually interviewing Stephen Hignell. Now, Stephen is the Associate Director at a firm called Nordicity, based in London. And Steve is going to tell us a little bit about the work they've been doing in Jamaica. And so, Steve, how are you doing?
Hello, everybody. Hi, Andrea. Well, thank you.
It's awesome to have you. So, just for everyone who may not know Nordicity is a 40-year-old international consulting firm that at one point had merged with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they specialize in consulting in strategy, policy, and economic analysis for the global digital creative and communication industries, the creative sector. So, Stephen, can you tell me a little bit about, and our audience, of course, of creatives here in Jamaica, tell us a little bit about what you do at Nordicity and the project that brought you all to Kingston.
Great, thank you. Well, first, I'd just like to say thank you for having me. It's great to be here. It's an honor to speak with you and your network, and has been an absolute pleasure to work with and for Jamaican cultural and creative industries. So Nordicity is a strategy, policy, and economics consultancy. We specialize in the cultural and creative industries, and we work globally. At Nordicity, I advise governments, cities, industries, associations, and companies on industry development, mapping sectors, mapping their opportunities and challenges, and developing strategies as well as business cases. This includes things such as advancing their creative economies, supporting creative and social entrepreneurship, skills and financing, development and inclusive growth. And then really evaluating and measuring that impact and that value, which can then be looked at for the ongoing monitoring, evaluation, learning, and ongoing improvement. So we work across the creative economy and specifically within each of the subsectors. So film and television, music, video games, theater, publishing, libraries, museums, galleries, and so forth. We've been doing similar work in other countries like the UK, where I'm based, in Canada, Ireland, as well as Nigeria, Philippines, Pakistan, and so forth, as well as for the CARICOM and CARIFORUM states. We have also had the honor of working quite extensively in Jamaica. So 3 years ago, we worked with JAMPRO and the Jamaica Film Commission on the Jamaican Screen Fund. But we've also done work for the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica, as well as the Office of Utilities Regulation in Jamaica. But most notably, or most recently, this time last year, we were commissioned to undertake the mapping, the first phase of the mapping of the cultural and creative industries in Jamaica for JBDC in partnership with the British Council, which is where we may have met many of the people in the group here today. So this mapping exercise was the first stage in 2020, the first step in what's really to be seen as a long arc of sector support and sector development, which has really accomplished quite a lot in the middle of a pandemic, and quite a lot in terms of mapping the sector, obtaining the crucial data that's required, the analysis that's required for this first phase, but also very importantly for engaging with the sector, catalyzing the sector and a lot of the sector stakeholders, industry associations and groups, organizational support, knowledge transfer, and capacity building.
Thanks, Stephen. So mapping was the first step, finding out who is in the sector, what they do, how we're organized, is it cohesive, is it fragmented? So that's very, very important. And then valuing the creative sector, that's going to be the next step, right? Doing an economic analysis of how much does the creative sector really contribute to Jamaica's GDP. Now, for people who, don't understand how you really leverage a number like that, how does this benefit countries when they know how much their creative sector actually contributes to the country's GDP? How is this data used? How is it useful?
Very good question. Very good question. What's it all used for? Well, to start, I would say that, we need to look at this as an investment in developing the sector. And in particular, there's an opportunity to look at the cultural and creative industries as a sector that can help advance sustainable development and advance inclusive growth. So we're really talking in sort of investment terms, in economic terms, when we're speaking with government decision makers and other stakeholders who might be placed to make the decisions on how and when and where to support the sector development. But to achieve this requires, an investment that takes a real long-term view, a long-term plan, and looking at this as an investment. Any good decision making requires good information, and in this case, that good information is good data. So, if it is hoped that government will support or invest in a country's cultural and creative industries, they'll need to understand what that opportunity is in investment terms. So, where are we starting? How is the sector currently doing? What is the economic impact of the sector at this moment? Yeah. Then taking that sort of benchmark approach, we also look to understand what the needs of the sector is, what are the opportunities, and what are the challenges, including the value of those needs or of those opportunities. When we look at what the potential value is and what the options are for that potential value, then we can start, or the decision makers, the government can start to decide where and how to invest, why it's important to invest, what are the benefits that would come back from that, and what that true value might mean in economic terms. Of course, there are non-economic values attributed to the cultural and creative industries that are very, very important, that also need to be captured as well, because not everything can have a dollar or financial value.
We totally agree. Not everything comes down to a dollar. And I think there are these intangible values to heritage, and, culture adds to society in ways that you just can't count. But I think the issue we've had in Jamaica as a creative sector is that we're seen as just entertainment. We're seen as this throwaway thing. Like, why on earth would you invest in entertainment in the middle of a pandemic? So we're seen as the parties can wait. So we're not actually making that link between, this is what's driving the growth of your country. That music isn't just entertaining. when people come and visit, it's actually a real driver and can be a driver for sustainable development. I'm so glad that you brought up the issue of sustainable development as well, Steve, because, you know, this is 2021. The United Nations has designated 2021 as the year of creative economy for sustainable development. And we were so excited to hear this because that's exactly what Kingston Creative is focusing on. How can we use our culture and our creativity to create wealth and to catalyze growth in the creative economy? So I'm wondering, from a global perspective, you know, because you have a view that looks across the world, when this designation came out, like, what did you take it to mean, and what practical opportunities does it present globally for countries?
So it's a very, very good question, and I think a point made as well. The opportunity is very, very exciting because it looks at culture as a means to advance and develop parts of the country, parts of the economy, parts of society that previously weren't always considered or weren't always factored. In other words, it opens up, it might unlock doors, funding, opportunities from different sources that it accepts and appreciates that culture can influence and advance positive change in a multitude of ways, not just necessarily for culture's sake, but for development, for inclusive growth, for the sustainability of the country. And in many cases, you know, as you mentioned, some of the other benefits, you know, healing, you know, mental health, well-being, social inclusion, and social harmony, and all of these things that are crucial and very important to the sustainability and growth, but would not otherwise be captured in economic impact. I think in a country particularly a country like Jamaica, which has an exceptionally strong cultural and creative sector.
Say that again, Steve, for those in the back, because sometimes I think we doubt ourselves and the power of our global culture. Just if you could just digress for a second, how are we viewed from the outside culturally as a specialist in culture?
I think that Jamaica punches well above its weight, exceptionally above its weight in terms of its social capital, its cultural contribution globally, and I think it's really an influencer. It's highly respected and highly valued around the world. I think that Jamaica also has untapped potential. And I think that there really is a much wider, broader, more diverse cultural and creative sector within Jamaica that has the opportunity to reach the world. I think there's unheard voices, untapped potential, and untapped creativity that is really exciting. So if already the country is operating at this level, you know, it's really exciting to imagine what, if that's the tip of the iceberg, what really could the future potential be?
Absolutely. And then how could that benefit the country? Because sometimes when you have untapped potential, if we are not ready to monetize that locally, if we don't have the production, the distribution, etc., it's no sense, oh, we're so great, but, you know, iTunes is making all the money from our greatness, you know. So it brings me to the question of understanding that this is the year, right? Creative economy is the focus. Sustainable development is the focus. What could creative individuals and creative businesses be doing now? Even though we're still on lockdown, this is still our prep time. What could we be doing now to position ourselves to benefit from what's going to happen this year?
Sure. Well, the current impact of the COVID pandemic has brought a lot of challenges, but it's also really instigated a lot of creative thinking and problem solving amongst the cultural and creative sector. In many ways, in the face of these challenges, this creative approach has really, I think, opened some surprises, some doors, and really, leveraging online opportunities, leveraging the ability to work digitally, to sell, distribute, and maintain momentum and develop your career, through digital or online means. This will happen increasingly as people and audiences transition to normal life. There will still be, this increased demand and opportunity online.
To reach global audiences using technology.
Absolutely. And it will take time for people to be comfortable physically in physical spaces. So, there is a hybrid approach, I think, to the future in maintaining this momentum that's been developed digitally, whilst also, finding the new path in the physical space. So it's the time to connect with clients, consumers, partners, businesses online, and that includes both domestically within Jamaica, within the region, the Caribbean, but also really thinking globally. And it's also really exciting to think about the potential with the diaspora. The Jamaican diaspora around the world.
A ready market for our culture. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So you're saying basically tech is here to stay. So let's explore what's happening at that intersection. So creatives should really continue. So I think some creatives may have thought, okay, let's just go live on Instagram because we can't do it in person. But what I'm hearing is keep those digital channels as we reemerge to physical. Is that summing it up?
I think it sums it up quite nicely, and I think it presents a really interesting case for diversification when you think about income sources and so on, and many creatives internationally, but also many creatives that we've spoken to directly in Kingston and across Jamaica, have said that their patterns of working will have shifted forever. They thought that they were working digitally only because they needed to, and in the future, actually, they expect and they look forward to maintaining that digital working. Absolutely.
I've heard some people call it physical and digital, but I don't think that's going to catch on. It's a funny word, but yes, the physical and the digital is the opportunity. So just lastly, as we wrap up, Steve, because I know you're busy. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. I wondered from your perspective, because it was quite a comprehensive study that you did. You've spoken to hundreds of people in all the different sectors. Can you tell us what you think the biggest challenges that faces the Jamaican creative sector right now? And then what do you think is the biggest opportunity? If you could wave a magic wand and we, take advantage of one thing and run through that gate, what would those two things be? Biggest challenge, biggest opportunity in 2021?
Well, I think, starting with the positive, the biggest opportunity and the biggest sort of competitive advantage by far is the sheer talent within the cultural and creative industries in Jamaica. The creativity and talent is endless. It's admired and recognized internationally. It is the envy of much of the world. And there is that opportunity to discover that untapped potential and make more of the diversity of the cultural and creative industries in Jamaica, breaking expectations and breaking stereotypes, which has happened time and time again, and will continue to happen time and time again. But I think that also comes to one of the challenges, and perhaps one of the biggest challenges facing the sector, and in particular in consideration of inclusive growth and sustainable development, is about enabling and supporting that diversity and inclusivity within the cultural and creative sector, and giving the hand up, providing the access, the accessibility, and the opportunities to people and skills and talents that haven't previously had that access. So really providing that platform figuratively, as well as in real terms, providing that physical platform for people who otherwise might not have been heard.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I think we do recognize that a lot of the creators of the culture are from disadvantaged backgrounds and communities. This is where the new talk comes from, the new dance, the new fashion, the new music, so I think there is that recognition, and the issue of access is a really thorny one, and that focus on communities and the creatives within these communities is a huge one. So thanks for that. Thanks for the challenge and the opportunity. We appreciate it. So we will be seeing you in 2021, right? We'll be hearing from you as the work continues.
You will definitely be hearing from me. It's really exciting. The next phase of work in this field, developing the sector, will really provide an opportunity for the sector, for the creatives in Jamaica, to help shape its future, to help determine what the sector needs, what kind of support it needs, what are the priorities, what are the challenges, but also very importantly to help express what the true value of the sector is, why it's important. And that will be useful not only for politicians and for industry associations and groups and so on. It will be important for families. It will be important for entrepreneurs, creatives, people going to school, and actually realizing or understanding that the cultural and creative industries present a true economic opportunity, a true career path, a true career or entrepreneurship potential that is very inclusive, accessible, and open to anybody and everybody, where they can advance based on their own talents and interests.
Yeah, that would be a game changer. We probably lose so much creative talent in the Caribbean simply because our parents tell us doctor, lawyer, engineer, or you're worthless, so we are really forced into these more traditional career paths. But that's a talk for another time. Stephen, thank you so much for speaking with us today at the Kingston Creative Meetup, and we'll be sure to touch base with you later in the year. Thank you again for your time, and take care and stay safe.
Thanks so much, Andrea.
Bye. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Andrea and Stephen. Now, guys, remember, you can drop your questions in the chat in the YouTube Live. Please, we'll be engaging in a conversation. Any questions you have, we can take them throughout our conversation here. And we're going to be talking now to Scott Dunn, and he's the Managing Director of Dream Entertainment. Welcome, Scott. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Scott, tell us a little bit about, yourself and your company that you've built, Dream Entertainment.
Well, as you said, my name is Scott Dunn. I've been a part of the creative industries since 1994. That's 27 years. I've been doing events at various scales, but most known for the events that my company, Dream Entertainment, puts on. We do Dream Weekend in the Grill since 2009. I believe we dub it the largest party weekend in the whole Caribbean, but I believe we're the largest festival in the Caribbean with a single owner. So obviously, Trinidad Carnival will be bigger than us, but that's a number of events coming together to make this one big festival. In terms of a festival that's owned by one company, I don't think there's anything bigger than Dream Weekend. We do 9 events over 5 days. We average about 7,000 people per event. So you're talking about we're ticketing like 63,000 people each year, and we've been doing that for years. Of that 63,000, it's probably about 30,000 unique people, because obviously we have people that go to multiple events, but we have about 30,000 unique people. 65% of them are internationals, people that travel here. Initially, that started off as primarily diaspora people, but now there's a lot of people with really no connection to Jamaica. And it's one of the funny things, because a lot of people see pictures and videos and make assumptions and thinks it's all locals, because most of the people look like you and me, or perception of tourists in Jamaica, or the tourists that we it seems like we desire having here don't look like us, you know. So it might be part of our you know, of some of our troubles that we have, you know, as Jamaicans and as Africans. You know, there might be some little self-hate there. Why you know, black tourists don't seem to matter as much as white ones. But we have you know, at Dream Weekend, the government does a study each year, does a survey, and they factor that the average person spends about $370 a day. If I remember, I think it's actually a little higher than that now. But you multiply that by, you know, even taking some conservative 10, 15, 20,000 number per day, even if you don't want to believe my numbers at the 30,000 unique people. The government has now put out a study, which I know Andrea knows well, the COVID-19 Recovery Task Force study or something like that. You know, it says Dream Weekend contributes $4.3 billion to the economy, if I remember right. And then you show our other event that we're known for is Exodus Carnival. Now, Exodus is the biggest band in Carnival in Jamaica, which is the largest festival in Jamaica in terms of economic impact. The government puts that at about $4.7 billion, I believe. And again, we're the largest player in that. So our band is about 4,500 strong. We're twice as big as our nearest competitor, and 4 times as big as our second competitor. So, you know, even looking at on a regional level, and people don't think of Jamaica first when they think of Carnival, obviously think of Trinidad. There might be only one band, maybe 2 in the entire Caribbean that's bigger than us. And we've only been around for 3 carnivals. So give us a couple of years, we're going to be the biggest band in the whole Caribbean. We're going to have the biggest festival in the whole Caribbean. But, you know, despite all of that, it seems like the government isn't showing us much respect, you know. And I was listening to what Stephen said before. I found it very interesting, you know. It brought me back to church a bit, because in the gospel, there's 3 different places in the gospels. I believe it's in Luke, it's in Mark, I can't remember where else, but Jesus refers to a prophet not being loved in his own land. And
in his own country.
Right. And I say, you know, and I'm not claiming to be a prophet. I'm looking at the creative industry as being the prophet, you know, our creative economy, because, you know, across all spectrums of our creative, you know, economy, whether you're talking about visual arts, to dance, to theater, you know, and going even as, you know, far wide as sport, which we tend to be piled in with. That is Jamaica. That is what defines Jamaica. You know, we need to quit this foolishness thinking that people come to Jamaica for sun, sand, and sea. Nobody
Absolutely
comes.
not.
We have beautiful beaches. We have great sun. But listen, there's a lot of places in the world that are at least equal to us with that. People come to Jamaica for amazing culture. And right now, the government is trying to protect you know, the hotel industry, and I applaud them for that. But by stifling the creative industry, they're actually killing the hotel industry.
Exactly.
It's the silliest thing that's happening, you know? And I say, getting back to the numbers, he's saying the creative economy that brings $84 billion, Andrea?
84.1. Don't forget my
84
point 1.
Every point
point
matters.
1 is 100 million for those of you who are not
Okay.
good at maths. So 84 billion, $100 million that the creative economy brings into Jamaica each year. Yet, in the midst of a pandemic, when we're being stifled, the government hasn't seen it fit to invest $1 in keeping that economy alive. And if I break it down small, just to my area, then, so I believe it's something like the top 20 music festivals, or top 20 festivals that happen in Jamaica are worth a little over $20 billion, just the top 20 festivals. Now, in my mind, if the government invested maybe somewhere in the region of, let's say, $250 to $500 million in 2021, they could keep that 20 billion for as long as there is life, It's a word, I'm not going to say this word, perpetuate. Can't you say that word for me?
In perpetuity, Scott. In
Yeah, I
perpetuity.
can never say that. Good thing I have you, you know?
I tell you.
I'm just a stupid promoter. So
I feel very useful. Thank
but
you.
I'm glad that there's smart people around to say big words. But yeah, so just in terms of, so, you know, I know this is a creative environment, but I'm also a business person. If somebody came to me with an opportunity and said, Scott, and if I could put my hands on the money and say, here, you need to put $500 million into this investment in 2021, but it's going to make you 84.1 billion per year for as long as you can imagine, at least, because our creative economy is growing and was growing until this pandemic. But the
Simple
government,
maths.
once again, will rather kill the goose that lays this beautiful creative golden egg. And it's sad. But the thing is, I'm not going to allow them because it's just stupid. It's bad business. Forget about anything else. It's just bad business to kill that $84.1 billion.
And that's a
I'm sorry,
perfect
I'm just talking. I
segue.
know you have questions for me. I'm just blah, blah,
No,
blah.
it's fine because, you know, that's a perfect segue to your letter, your open letter that you wrote to the government about the re-emergence of, you know, the creative industry. What has the response been like to that letter? And I mean, you know, what were you expecting from the government? What was the response you wanted?
Well, in terms of the expectation of the response, it's been really overwhelming. It's actually, you know, not that I would never regret it because it's something I'm so passionate about, but it's really been a killer of my time because I have an event. We have Dream Week in Tampa next week, and I'm the only person from Dream Entertainment in Florida at the moment. So I sent off the letter to the newspapers on Friday. I was adamant that they didn't run it on Saturday. I was also adamant that they ran it in full. The Observer actually took pieces out, so I'll say it straight. If anybody wants to read the letter, read it on the Gleaner, because they printed my letter in full. Observer edited stuff that I guess they felt the need to. But it was very important to me that it was printed in full. It was very important to me also that there was no real story around it. So I told both newspapers that I wasn't willing to answer any questions on that day because I wanted that to be the story. So from that point, I was pretty strategic with it because I knew what I wanted to say. I was very careful with the words I chose. Wherever I came off harsh, I meant to come off harsh. Wherever I came off, you know, very steady and level-headed, that's what I meant. But I knew there would be a reaction to it, and, you know, but man, it's been crazy. It's from my personal Instagram page alone. So I posted it on 4 platforms, but 5 technically. So I had it on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My Instagram is @Dunnscott, DUNNSCOTT, and I posted a link on my Instagram to WhatsApp and broadcasted it to a select few people, particularly people I consider influencers in the industry, because I wanted their feedback. And I didn't tell anybody, say, go and like it and say, I didn't tell people to make nice comments. I said, you know, go and make your feedback on this post, basically, is what I told people. You know, 3 days later, up to Tuesday night, it had been shared 2,000 times from my Instagram account, had over 2,000 likes, over 400 comments just on Instagram. I'm a Twitter dummy. I already know much about Twitter. I heard I was trending on Twitter on Sunday. So, you know, and the response certainly on my platforms have been overwhelmingly good. And again, it's there for the whole world to see. You can go and look at, I would say 98, 99% positive feedback on my platforms. Obviously, I've read some of the stuff directly, like on the Gleaner and the Observer's platform. But also, and there's been more negativity there. I would say primarily positive anyway, maybe 60-40. But a lot of the negative comments, it was clear to me that they hadn't read the letter. Because based on their comments, you know, it was just people either who hadn't read the letter, maybe had genuinely, you know, their negative concerns were genuine, but it was clear they hadn't read the letter. And then there were some obvious trolls on there, you know, people with 0 pictures, 0 followers, you know, and posting all kind of garbage. And in some of them thinking that they were defending, people, whether in government or in the hospitality industry, who didn't want defending, because I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from the government in power and the opposition. I've gotten positive feedback from, hotel people. I've got positive feedback from people in healthcare. I mean, right within the comments on my pages, you'll see a number of doctors that think that my ideas are solid. So the feedback has been crazy. I know there was another part to that question, but
I was also asking, your expectation in terms of from the government. What action did you want them to take?
My expectation is this, and it's very simple. It's basically, and I would say it really should be an and, but let's say at worst case scenario it's an or. It's that we need to have the events industry reopen, and we need to have that reopen now. Obviously, it needs to be measured, but at the least, it needs to be on parallel with what's happening in hotels and what's happening in restaurants. There's nobody on this planet that is going to convince me that it's safe to gather in a hotel with hundreds of people, and it's not safe to gather with the same amount of people on an open field. So if you are so strong and believe that we should not have events, you should also be calling for the lockdown of hotels and restaurants in Jamaica. That's my belief. So it's either the government, and I say ideally it's an and, but let's say either or. If it's not that, then the $84.1 billion creative industry and the 20 odd billion of it that's just events in terms of festivals, and that doesn't cover all of events. There's round robins and that kind of stuff, and I know Andrew has all those numbers. But those industries need a lifeline. So again, Dream Entertainment alone, just two of our events, and remember we have numerous events. Just two of our events, Dream Weekend and Exodus as Carnival in Jamaica is $9 billion. Now, Dream Entertainment is a few months away from insolvency. We're going to go bankrupt because we're paying rent at 3 different locations. We're paying staff. We're paying accountants. We're paying lawyers. We're still paying taxes. Part of why we're paying lawyers too is because we have to keep postponing events, and people are coming at our throats because they think we're thieves because we're postponing events that they've already bought tickets for or paid for costumes that we've manufactured in terms of Exodus Carnival. Sometimes we have people who have paid $100 deposit on a costume that costs us $400 to make, and we've already made that costume. And the person who's only paid $100 of the $400 that it costs to make is at our throats, saying they want their money back, and we're like, your money has been spent.
There is nothing.
There is nothing. We are in minus, and minus. We're a private company, so I don't want to give all our details, but we've lost tens of millions of dollars last year. And when I say we've lost, I don't mean we've lost the opportunity. We've actually lost money. If I talk about the opportunity that we lost last year, we've lost hundreds of millions. That was the opportunity cost for us. But in terms of actual losses, like if I give you a copy of my financials, it's going to show you losses in the tens of millions of dollars. And, I tell people, then people, you're going to have a lot. Again, the naysayers are going to say, oh, the guys in Dream, all don't have money, all don't have another business. Right. Again, it's not about us. So guess what? 3 months' time, the government does nothing. Dream Entertainment locks down. The country no longer earns that $9 billion a year, so that's a big deal, right? But what you need to understand is all the people that Dream Entertainment provide employment for. So we don't have a lot of direct employees, right? Pre-pandemic, we had 18 employees. We paid them straight through till the end of April. Everybody got paid in full. So there was a month and a half, there was no activity, still paying people in full. Come the end of April, we're like, okay, this is not sustainable. We cut everybody's hours. We didn't let not one of those 18 people go, right? At the end of April. At that point, after about a month, 2 other guys were like, well, we can find other jobs. We're only doing 10 hours a week here now. 2 people left, brought us down to 16, I believe, at that point. And until last week, Monday, we were still paying all 16 people. Last Monday, I had to tell 4 people, like, listen, have to give you a temporary layoff, but I'm going to go out and fight to get your jobs back. Because basically the approach we were taking was like, we're keeping everybody in case we open back
again.
And then we want to be able to just go out. We want to like
keep going.
Right. So we wanted everybody like ready to go, but it's just that wasn't sustainable for us anymore. So we had to take the approach that we have to wait to get the work and then get back the people. And it's unfortunate because that's 4 people now that's without an income. But again, our direct employees is tiny. So I'll give you an event like Dream Weekend. I'll just use that as one example. So that's 1 week. We use maybe about 300 bartenders, hundreds of private security, about 100 police, I would say close to 100 caterers. You add to that gate staff, promotional teams leading up. So we probably use maybe about 30, 40 promotional models. Bottle girls, I think we used something like 100 bottle girls last year at Dream Weekend. So, there's things like bouncers, we probably use 8 bouncers. So we have a party at Cool Runnings Adventure Park in a water park, and we have a party on the beach. Those parties, the Cool Runnings, we use like 80 lifeguards. So out there in the world of civil society, and we're just the dirty party people, nobody would ever know that we give lifeguards job opportunities. Those people don't even know what a bottle girl is. So a bottle girl is somebody who's like essentially a waitress at an event. And these are people that do this for a living. It's not a hobby.
And Scott.
Week in, week out. Yeah, Andrew.
And Scott, some of the people are, the backstage people, your sound engineers, your lighting technicians, your stage managers, people who are kind of invisible to the public as well. And then the macro picture is multiply your pain by 1,000, because there are theater companies that have shut down, there are dance companies that have shut down. If fashion houses that haven't had shows have closed their retail operations. I know of several. So this is all across the thing. There's a huge it's not just about one company.
As a boutique geisha for the last 30 odd years. And it's been the roughest year in 30 odd years of business. And I said that's seeing in 30 odd years you see ups and downs in the economy. They've never seen anything like this. And we see it. I got a call recently from somebody that's in event rental business. They're ready to try and sell their business. There's a lot of linkages out there that depend on it. But example I use all the time. I know hairdressers and nail techs are feeling it because a lot of particularly younger women, late teens,
got nowhere to go.
20s, yeah, if they're not going out, you think they're doing their hair every week or doing their nails every week. Just there's nowhere to go.
Yeah, it really does. It has tentacles in the whole economy. Yeah, it really affects the entire economy.
There's so much people that feed off the creative industry, and I say, and Andrew, it hurts me. The government knows, Believe me, my letter wasn't an eye-opener for the government. Everything that was in my letter, the government knows. But you know what? There was no political will to do anything about it, right? The government would rather please civil society, right? The people who want to say, don't party in a pandemic, because apparently they think those are the only people with a voice and only people with a vote. But let me tell you, our industry is huge and we have a voice. And I opened mine and I realized my voice is a lot louder than I thought it was. There's a lot of people in this industry with much bigger voices than mine. And when those people are starting to talk up, I say, Bounty Killer reposted my, my Instagram post. I mean, he has a huge voice, among the people. He's somebody that's gone from being, Angry Bounty in the early days, Mr. Cross, Angry Miserable. Truly an advocate for the creative industry and an advocate, somebody who has a genuine heart and looks out for poor people.
So Scott, I have a cynical question for you. So if the government, reaches out and say, hey Scott, We understand, you're one of our top 20. We're going to sort you out. Does your voice then disappear?
No way. I can't. I'm too deep in now. I can't be silenced right now. I realize how important my voice is for this industry, and as long as there's air in my lungs, you're gonna always hear me speaking for good, bad, whatever. And when our industry does bad, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say, "Yo, we messed up," but I'm here. And I said, this is obviously my priority is the events industry, but I'm here for the entire creative economy. So this is me reaching out my hands to the entire creative economy. However, and not just in Jamaica, because people been reaching out to me from all over the Caribbean, saying, hey, we need to be saying the same stuff on our islands. And, so pretty soon I'm gonna be doing, some online stuff with other people within the Caribbean. People can look out for that. But,
That's really
it's
good.
gone as far, I'm gonna be on CBC News in Canada on Sunday at 9 o'clock.
Excellent.
Talking about this exact topic. So it's gone.
It needs to be said.
CBC
It needs to be said.
Is the biggest news station in Canada. Canadian Broadcasting Corporation is government owned, and talking about exactly what we're talking about, as well as Canada now locking down flights to Jamaica. Which again, I spoke of the absurdity of it in a country where we only have 3,500 active cases. There's no better place a Canadian could be right now. And they've done it for the whole Caribbean. I mean, Cayman Islands are COVID zero right now. They won't allow Canadians to go there. I mean, it's silly. But again, governments it's just this global copy and paste going on, and nobody's really thinking things through and being granular. And something like this, you need to be very granular with the details and not just, like you said, this big old whitewash.
Broad brush.
Yeah.
And we have a question from the chat. Well, before I even ask that question, some persons will look on to the other events that are happening probably overseas, and they may see that, well, they're not really practicing social distancing. They're kind of crowdy. It's not what we want. What would be your response to how viable it would be for us in Jamaica to host events that would allow for the safety of people while still being able to, enjoy ourselves?
All right, so I'll tell you what people are seeing overseas, and that's going to depend on, different states' laws, city laws, county laws. The U.S. is very complex when it comes to law. So, I had an event in Miami 2 weeks ago. The laws around venue capacity, this governance of CDC, those things were very different in Miami to the event I'm having Dream Weekend Tampa next weekend. So I'll tell you Tampa, for example. Tampa is now at 100% capacity for venues. Now, to me, that's a bad idea. I'll be perfectly honest. So I have a venue that has a huge capacity, and I'm limiting the capacity to maybe about 60%, just because, I just think it's a bad idea. I guess, coupled with that, now I know I'm going to be under the microscope. So I know somebody is dying to post a video or a picture.
I got COVID a Dream Weekend.
Look on Big Mouth Scotland party, looking all terrible. So we have to be realistic with things though. So it's a party, right? So social distancing, it can't be totally rigid, but you have to remember, if you have 5 people that come in a car to a party together, telling those people to social distance, again, is just stupid. It's absurd. Or if those 5 people are allowed to go to dinner and sit at a table together, or if they're gathering their 15 friends, according to the law in Jamaica is okay, gather in their house together. Don't come to my party and don't expect to see 15 friends standing together, because that's happening.
That's their bubble.
Everywhere, right? So
that's the allowed amount anyway.
We're enforcing masks on entry. Obviously, when people are drinking and eating, they can't have masks on. But we're going to have the DJs constantly reminding people, hey, you're not drinking, you're not eating. I've even told the DJs, call people out. Say, hey, Andrea, you over there in the White House. Put on your mask, you're not drink nothing. Or go to the bar and go buy a drink. So, almost use it as a vibes up thing, a little joke thing, where keep on your mask, right? We also, to try and facilitate distancing, we're putting like tables in strategic places throughout the venue. So you're forced to kind of move around and not be on top of somebody back, you know?
Right.
Again, people who come together, people who meet each other there and want to hang out. I mean, a man meet a woman and ask her to dance, they're going to dance. But, you know, they could be dancing at home as well. So I can't govern that. So for Jamaica specifically now, we've put forward certain protocols. And I don't have them in front of me, but it kind of goes like this. We want to do some small events up to 300 people. Again, that's not unusual. The hotels have a lot more than 300 people. Some of them right now have. We only want to have this outdoor space. Again, not a guessing game. Science tells us outdoor is safer than indoor. Right? So we want 300 people outdoor. We're going to do temperature checks. We're going to have masking entry. We're going to have sanitization station. I believe our proposal said one sanitization station for every either 50 or 60 people in the venue. The venues will be oversized. So we'll have 30 square feet per person. So I don't know if people can visualize 30 square feet. 30 square feet is 5 feet by 6 feet long. So if you have those inch tiles in your house right now, just count out 5 tiles, 6 tiles, 1. That's how much space that each person will be allowed in the venue. So again, remember, people coming together, people are going to hang out in groups. But if, you know, John Brown comes to the party and he's very, you know, scared of COVID.
That's me, Andrea Chung.
Andrea
John Brown.
Chung is scared, right?
I am here.
Andrea Chung. Andrea Chung is scared. She comes to the party. She sees a group of 15 people hanging out to the right, but this venue is so huge, she can go
on the other side
to the left and be by herself in that venue in her mask. She drank a lot in the car, so she doesn't even need to have a drink. Had her dinner before she left her yard. Andrea Chung the craven. She don't need to eat at the party. So she keeps on her mask the entire night, 100 feet away from any other patron. That's very doable. And you know why I know it's doable? Because we did it 3 times last summer. When the government reopened for 4 weeks, we had 3 events, and all of them was oversized. We limit at the time was 280 people, including staff. Right? For that, because of just the sheer size of our team, we had to have 50 staff. So we had 230 patrons at each of these events. The venues that we used was, and picture the size of these venues: Police Officers Club, the National Stadium car park, and the field at the National Stadium right between, adjoining the pool and the netball courts. All venues, well, I can tell you, police officers and the little field at the stadium can hold 2,000 people each easily. And I said we only had 280. Stadium car park had probably hold 20,000 people. Right? And we had a tailgate party in there where each car had, I believe, a 20-foot by 12-foot space, 24 feet by 12-foot space to themselves. Right? And again, people came in their groups, you know. And I said, again, people, you know, Jamaica and our strongest disease, bad mind, that came on the news. And you know what they highlighted and what Twitter ran with? One long lady said that she came from Florida to the event, for the event. If coming from one, nobody checked to see if she actually came, you know, a couple of weeks before quarantine. Or the assumption was that because she came from Florida, that she came with COVID. As if the majority, even in Florida, which is a hotbed, vast majority of people don't have COVID. It's not like everybody's just running around with COVID in Florida. It don't work like that.
But Scott, so from the point of view of the fearful person, though, when they do hear that, they are going to be afraid. And I think what we need to emphasize is that, you know, the call is not for you must reopen, because if the government in all their wisdom says right now is not the time, but 3 months, 6 months, what we're saying is then put in place support measures.
But keep
Go
going.
again, Scott?
No, I'm saying don't think I'm distracted. I'm picking up my phone because there's a message that I want to read, so you understand how I feel about the matter.
Yeah. I'm just bringing up the point that support measures are also another lever. It's not open open is not the only choice. You have lots of support measures to keep these businesses viable, so that when we're emerging now, the businesses are ready to make us that money again. I mean, it just makes common sense.
So,
you know?
I mean, why do we have things like the Development Bank of Jamaica if times that not even a loan the government has offered us, not even a low interest loan?
You know, someone asked that question in the chat on YouTube. You know, they're asking, has the government given financial assistance to creatives, you know, grants, things like that, to just allow them to be able to continue in this time?
Yeah, so why I picked up my phone was, you know, to Andrew's point that there are people who just won't feel comfortable. So I'm doing Dream Week in Tampa. I went to university in Tampa, the University of South Florida, from 94 to 97. I still have a few friends in Tampa. My message to so my friends are obviously all in their 40s. They're not like necessarily super party people. My message to all my friends was basically, hey guys, I'm in Tampa for the couple of weeks. I'm having, you know, a smaller version to a Dream Weekend because it's a small venue. The venue has a capacity of 900, and as I tell you, we're trying to do maybe 600, like about 67% per night here. So it's a small venue, and we're talking about small numbers. I said to them, hey guys, in Tampa, you know, I'm having this little mini Dream Weekend. Love to have you there, but I don't know how comfortable you are in a party environment. If you are, let me know. I'll send you some tickets. If you're not, let's catch up, have breakfast, have lunch one day. That's how I feel about party. I don't want anybody coming to any party, any of my parties, or nobody should be going to any party that they don't feel comfortable going to. But if you're 18 and over in Jamaica, you should have a choice, right?
Yeah.
You should be allowed to go somewhere that operates within the law. Problem is the law right now is only allowing us 15 people. But guess what? Like when they banned alcohol in the United States and they had prohibition, and that made the mafia like the most powerful organization in the world because of bootleg liquor. Right now there's a huge underground industry of illegal events happening on every corner of Jamaica. Right? So what the government is doing if they don't act quickly, for the many of us formal players who are about to go bankrupt, is they're going to make us go out of business, and these illegal party holders, who some of these people are not the most scrupulous, there's certainly a lot of unscrupulous people that are doing, and not everybody doing illegal events are unscrupulous, I'm trying to say. There's a lot of people that you don't want to be the leaders of our creative industry when COVID is all said and done.
Yeah,
So,
we don't want to create a wild, wild west.
right. So what we want to do is we need a lifeline to keep us going so we can keep giving. Give us a chance to keep giving $84 billion a year. It will take a small amount of money from the government relatively. The government has found, and again, you know, maybe dig it up, don't quote me on it. I believe the government has given $1.4 billion to the hotels so far. No, hotels are still, I know they're feeling it, and God knows I feel it for them, because they're at 20% occupancy and they're losing money. But they're open. They're at least allowed to operate. They have a chance. Events have been locked totally down, and we haven't gotten a dollar. You know, I hear one of the ministers, you know, talking about how much money has been given to the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment, and Sports for the events industry. Well, listen, we're the biggest player. We haven't gotten a dollar. So maybe the check is lost in the mail. So please, you know, call the bank, make a stop order on the check, and remember us. But don't just remember us, remember the entire creative industry. We're feeling it. But I say, again, events are feeling it the hardest, because there are creatives that are actually flourishing in the pandemic, you know. So you have, you know, people like singers and songwriters. Streaming is up, so some of those people are making more money. People in broadcasting, some of them are still doing well. Right? So it's not everybody that's feeling it on the same level. Some people are allowed to operate at some level. Most, I would say the vast majority of us as creatives are certainly, you know, feeling it. But us in events and the people, you know, the linkages from events or ecosystem, we're at zero. Is it at zero?
Yeah, so Scott, we have a couple comments from the chat. So Sam James is asking, how financially viable are large events while observing social distancing protocols? And then there's Ingrid Riley, who's saying she's really appreciating your candidness because you're keeping those realities real.
Right.
And then we've got Horace Campbell, you know, who's saying that you should also note that people who keep saying, you know, stop complaining and find solutions, that you did come up with solutions last year. So Horace Campbell is making that point, that the creative industries did put forward solutions last year.
We did those free events. So to Sam's question is, we're not trying to have large events. That's the thing, nobody's listening. I just talk about events with 300 people. If you go, there's hotels all over Jamaica, Sam, right now with more than 300 people.
He's saying, is that financially viable for you? If you do a party with 300, 600, 60% people there, is it
we
are you
have to
making
find
money?
a way to make it viable because that's what's feasible right now. So
Got it.
don't worry. What it will do is it gives us an opportunity to earn. So hotels aren't financially viable right now, but they've been given an opportunity to try and find a way to operate, to pivot.
Yeah.
The Jamaica Pegasus, you know, now it has co-working spaces and doing stuff that they would have never dreamed
Changing
of.
their business model.
Right. So just give us an opportunity to earn in some way. And to Sam's point, you know, I had to give you the plan B. Sorry, not the plan B, the second part of the plan. So I mentioned events of up to 300 people. The next step we would want to see is events for 500 plus people would be essentially creating a bubble event. So similarly, for those of you who are sports fans, pretty much every major sport is operating globally now because they've found out ways to create a bubble. And what we think this is not rocket science how to do this. There's so much testing facilities in Jamaica now, places where you can get. I did a COVID test last Friday. I got my results in less than 15 minutes. Somebody came to my house. I paid $10,000 to MD Link. The nurse came to my house, pulled up in the parking lot. I went behind her vehicle to the trunk. She did the COVID test. Told me it was negative. Drove out of my place. By the time I got back inside my apartment, I had an email with a sign and stamp letter from MD Link that I was COVID negative.
So how does the bubble work? It's like only people who are tested negative in a certain time can come to the party?
24 hours before the event, you get a COVID test, right? You show a negative COVID test. Or you just show up at the event and we either do lines with significant social distancing. So we put you, let's say, 20 feet apart in lines. You come, queue up, you take your test. You move over to a holding area again where you know 10, 20 feet apart from everybody if you want to be really ridiculous with the spacing, because we have venues that can hold tens of thousands of people if we choose. And you sit and wait, you get a negative result, you proceed to the party. You get a positive result, you get back to your car. We could even do it in a car park. So we could have an event at the stadium and everybody pulls into the stadium car park. The nurse or whoever is qualified to do the COVID test comes up to your window, does your test, you get a text message, hey, you're positive. You just drive out of the car. Hey, I go and head back home into isolation. Hey, you're negative. You proceed to the venue. Obviously, we know which cars are the negative and the positive people. We have security, Ministry of Health on hand to make sure those people, and again, it's been done. I mean, I'm happy to share there was an event in Spain recently where they did it as a test. And what they did was 8 days after the event, they tested everybody that went to the event. Every single person tested negative 8 days later. Not one slipped through the cracks. And again, remember, we're talking about events with predominantly people from 18 years old to early 40s. Look at the numbers, people. People between 18 and 40 with no pre-existing conditions are like a 0.01% chance of dying of COVID. You're more likely.
And I think the issue, Scott, is not, you know, it's really that all of this doesn't have to happen now. You're not saying tomorrow, you know, go to this. You're saying, where is the plan? Are we going to do this in August? Are we going to be doing this in November? Let me plan my business. Isn't that what we're saying?
But what I want is that whatever the starting point is, that needs to happen now. Because we're literally out of money and everybody's out of money. I'm not just speaking on top of you. Everybody's, and there's no reason why it should not happen now. Until somebody can explain why it can happen in a hotel and restaurant and not happen at my event, then so far I haven't heard a compelling argument why it can't. And when I do hear that compelling argument, then I need to talk about the financial assistance. But we really should be talking about both, because
Yes, I agree.
there's already been 10 months of losing billions and millions for so many companies. You take a company, and there's some that's right in the public space. Main Event Group is a publicly traded company. You can go on Jam StockX, to Jamaica Stock Exchange website now and see what this lockdown has caused to a thriving business, a business that Solomon Sharp and Richie Bear worked
To build from
behind
scratch.
that.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
They have hundreds of employees. Barcode has laid off 300 bartenders.
Wow.
The average person in Jamaica would never believe that there's one bar service in Jamaica that has 300 men and women working regularly. 300 men and women that might be the primary breadwinners for their family. That they're at home, appearing in space for 10 months.
Yeah, one of the things that I saw, I think it was in Denmark, was that large event producers were given a grant. They had to get support because they realized the value.
Because for 10 months not operating, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
And you don't have the opportunity to pivot, which is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Hotels have an opportunity to change their model. You don't. You don't even say, okay, I'm going to have an event, I'm going to do something else. You're just like nothing.
Yeah. So it really,
you
really made the case.
Keep a virtual party. That doesn't, nobody's paying for a virtual party.
I can listen to that on
for
YouTube.
free. Maybe a concert, but we're really primarily not in the concert business. And for any of those events to be viable, it takes big sponsorship. You know who the big sponsors are of events? People who are feeling it right now as well. The liquor companies whose sales are down significantly because events aren't happening are our major sponsors. Those people are feeling it, like everybody else. Simco is one of our big sponsors. They're feeling the crunch too. It's across the board. We have had all kinds of sponsors that have had to pull out of plans that we've had because everybody's sales is down.
Well, I have a comment from N, from our YouTube. She's saying, this is a systematic issue because our culture looks down on creative careers as the last resort. Because if that wasn't the case, then there would be a lot more support than there is now.
You know what?
What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know if I didn't get the name because I don't know if it's a man or a woman. But I'm glad.
I'm not sure.
I'm glad the person said that because it's something that I speak a lot about with our company in particular. Because again, people have this assumption that people fall into entertainment. Like, you couldn't do nothing else. You're lazy.
You couldn't become a doctor or a lawyer. So
you got to keep party. Well,
you can promote a party.
In my company, one of my managers has a master's degree in project management and business engineering. We have people with computer science degrees.
Actuarial science.
Actuarial science.
Actuarial science.
Actuarial science degree that works for us. There are a lot of people, or sales and marketing manager was one of the top brand managers at Wisinko. He left Wisinko to join Dream Entertainment. And I could go on and on. Like literally everybody in our company could be doing something else. And you know what? And the passion that these people have for their job is that again in April, when we reduced everybody's pay. For the most part, everybody stayed. Everybody was just willing to stick it out because they're so passionate. All these people can go and find other jobs. I can go and find another job. And you know what? That's what's going to happen too. When the government kills this industry, people like Scott don't worry about me. So the people out there saying I only want to keep parties because I'm a greedy promoter. I'm well qualified. I've had major corporate jobs before. I was a reinsurance broker in London with one of the biggest reinsurance brokers in the world. And everybody, all of the ownership of Dream Entertainment are all people who are qualified to do multiple things.
No, so this is about Jamaica. This is really about what's going to happen to Jamaica.
Worry about the bouncer. Worry about the hairdressers that feel it.
You know what somebody said in the chat? The man walking around in the party selling lollipops and peanut cake and
That's
all the
David
other little-
Masalaman.
David Masalaman mentioned that.
You have a guy named Junior. Everybody would know him as a Rasta. Always under the big umbrella at pretty much every party that Drew. This man has provided for his family for at least 20 odd years out of selling stuff at events, selling everything from sweetie and condoms to cigarette and Pringles, you know. I don't know what he's doing right now. We have an electrician we use who probably does at least 4-5 events per week on a normal basis. I don't think him ever do no electrical stuff in nobody's house until this pandemic. I mean, luckily he has opportunity to pivot because his skills are transferable. But there's so much people. What should a bottle girl go and do now? What do the bouncers go and do now? What does an LED technician go and do now? What does somebody who puts a stage up go and do now? These are things. These are real jobs. It's not hobbies. You have people that feed their family off these jobs. What do a DJ do? Go online every day and play for free? Have
the thing is,
party every day for free?
And the thing is, it is what we know is that COVID is coming to an end. So, it's not, we have to just plan, how are we going to get through this period until it reopens? Because we know we're over the hump.
There's going to be a point when it's going to be open. But if we
The
never
vaccines
plan,
are here.
we're just going to be there like, okay, what do we do now?
It's going to be
Exactly.
open for the illegal operators. That's who it's going to be open for if we don't reopen now or get a lifeline from the government. Something has to happen. No. My letter came from a point of desperation for an industry that is on its face, right? I don't want to steal from the BLM movement, but the knee is on our neck right now.
Yeah, wow. I mean, this is such a very important conversation that we need to be having, and I'm happy we're talking about it. And, looking forward to seeing what those actions are going to be coming out of these conversations. But, just to kind of wrap us up, Scott, tell us, what would you say your vision is for Dream Entertainment?
For Dream Entertainment specifically, well, I'll give you my personal mantra. And as a managing director, I'm hoping that my team shares that vision. So for 2021, my mantra is communicate and collaborate. So, it's an absolute pleasure to be here sharing with you because this is my opportunity to communicate. And it's a platform for me to ask other people to communicate with me. So, why I've spent almost 72 hours straight on my phone after that letter is because I want to read what every single person wrote. And I've responded to my direct messages on Instagram and it's been good because so many people, who I would love to collaborate with, including Kingston Creative, have reached out. So this is me now reaching out and saying, I want to collaborate with other people in the creative industry. Dream Entertainment wants to collaborate with other people in the creative industry. We have some magnanimous, that's a word, right, Andrew?
That's a word. You can use that word.
Projects, that we are like this close to rolling out. So you see the $9 billion a year that Dream brings from just 2 of our events? That's a baby things to what we can do. We just need the government for just give it life.
Stabilize you.
Give me an oxygen mask right now. Just get me through. But as you say, Andrew, just stabilize. I don't want to make no money off of government. I'm not trying to make no profit off of government. I want to pay my staff and pay my rent and stop paying the landlady late over at Winchester. God bless her. Just to take the late rent.
God bless all the landladies and landlords. Can we just give one time for the landladies and landlords who are giving rent deferral because God knows it's needed. Listen, Scott, I wanted to leave the people listening with a bit of hope, because if you are a creative and, you're one of these people in the ecosystem who's been really affected by this, what advice would you have for them? How do you suggest that they reposition themselves, or what should they be doing in this lag time? Because we know we're coming out of it. We're coming out of it, but what practical things can they do?
I'm very careful around the whole repositioning and pivot. So one thing they can do immediately is, I think we're very close to having the government make a move to either reopen and or give us that lifeline. So help get this knee off our necks, let's pull the knee off our necks, and everybody open your voice, your mouths loud. Everybody talk up loud. Everybody go on social media, do petition, whatever you need to do. Go to your council, your member of parliament, tell them, say, yo, you're not eating. Make them understand. Because them act like we don't exist. That's the first thing you can do. Now, I'm very careful about telling people to, pivot. I more like to say, like, you need to, like, widen what you do. So pivot is kind of like you go so.
Yeah.
Go so.
Or changing your model.
Yeah, I don't like that. I'm like, you still need to, this is your core. You still need to focus on your core, but try and broaden that a bit, right? So try and find other things that you can do. Ideally stuff that will play back into the core. That can keep you going as best as possible.
So diversify just a little bit.
That's why I have you for the words.
That's why I'm here.
I go book a fee and I buy my books and I read more books and I still have the words. When I get the words,
you're like, I'm getting there, just a little bit.
I won't need you anymore,
Oh no, we can't have that. We're gonna lock the doors on you. Can't have that.
We're all about collaboration, so
yeah, definitely.
So, I hope that we can communicate more with Kingston Creative. I hope we can do more things together. I hope that the people who are watching on YouTube, feel free to reach out. It's a busy the next week and a half for me, so forgive me if you don't get an immediate response. But I always respond.
How can they get in touch with you, Scott?
Sorry?
How can they get in touch with you?
I'm Don Scott on Instagram. For those who are not on Instagram, my email is scott@jamaicadreamweekend.com. Spell out all of those long words, Scott.
The Scott@jamaicadreamweekend.com.
Yeah. I'm on LinkedIn as well. I think it's Scott J. Dunn on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I love that you said you're willing to collaborate with people as well. I mean, that's how Kingston Creative operates. We reach out and work with people.
That's how Dream started.
That's how we have to do it now.
That's how Dream started. It was all the biggest promoters out there doing individual events, and we got together and said, funny enough, we got together at Matthew Samuda's house, who's now a minister.
Senator Matthew Samuda.
Senator Matthew Samuda.
Targeting Scott. We need to
promoter. So, we got together at Matthew Samuda's house. Matthew Samuda was a part of Dream in the early days. We got together at Matthew's house and said, hey, imagine if we all come together, stop fighting each other, stop competing, what we could create. And we said, somebody said, what would that be like though? We were like, that would be like a dream.
Wow.
And that's how Dream Weekend came about. And fast forward to 2 weeks ago when I did the event in Miami. The event in Miami was a partnership. It was an Exodus event. It was a partnership with Dream Entertainment and some guys called BRT Weekend who do festivals very similar to Dream all over the Caribbean. And people look at BRT Weekend as the people or probably one of our biggest competitors. It's like the person that's climbing the ladder and looking up at us the most. But I would thought that they would have been the best partner to have in Miami. So I was like, rather than be competitors, let's hold hands. Because they're feeling it too. So although Miami's open, it's not at the scale that they would normally be doing events. They had an event planned in Jamaica, they had events planned in Turks and Caicos, which have all been postponed, like everybody else. I would say, hey, I call them up, it's like, Hans, let's hold hands on this. Let's get out of this together. I tell you. And it was amazing.
And that's the collaboration you're talking about.
Minds, tons of experience. They know everybody on the ground in Miami. We have the marketing, down packed. We brought out our diaspora people, and the event was amazing. And that's the way I'm going to continue. I'm going to keep reaching out. People look at, so many people in our industry as we're just all competitors, and we go at each other. But I'm going to reach out. I'm reaching out to all those people.
Well. I started on a COVID positive, right? About us moving with digital because of COVID and how it's really powering us. And it seems that we're ending on another COVID positive. We are in a small space. We're too small to be fighting for scraps and fighting each other. So if collaboration is a positive that we got out of COVID, we're ending on another positive.
Communicate and collaborate, people. I promise you won't regret it. It's been the most positive last 2 weeks of my life. As I said, it was that event in Miami that really was kind of like, if people have read my letter, that was like my moment. That's where I saw the light. And I'm like so energized. Everybody's worried about me because I'm not sleeping well, but I'm not sleeping well because I'm depressed. I'm not sleeping well because I'm just excited. I have so many ideas and I'm just dying to just execute them and get them out. But
Yeah.
if I'm going to if I'm
Wow.
going to execute those ideas in Jamaica, and I believe, and I said, magnanimous. I mean, we have some of the biggest companies in the world reaching out to us about doing projects, and they're just on pause because we're not, we can't even have 16 people inside the national stadium for it. That's
We're
the
re-emerging.
Much less 500.
We're re-emerging. We're coming out of
Amen.
it though.
Let's do it, but we're doing it now. We're not trying to get back started in July or August. We're gonna all be bankrupt before then. So we need to start something now. Please, the government. I'm not trying to be an aggressor. You know, I respect the government well. I just said Matthew Samuda is one of my dearest friends, and I have many friends within both the government and the opposition. I'm not anti-government. I'm not, anti-JLP. I'm all for the government, but they need to do the right thing with us here. And I said,
yeah, if you're for the country, you have to speak the truth.
Amen.
You know, so it's not about being pro-government or anti-government.
I'm not going to stop talking till it's
you want the best for Jamaica.
I'm going to be on YouTube on Kingston Creative Hub, and I'm going to be on CBC News Sunday at 9 p.m. and I'm going to keep talking.
And we'll keep calling on you as well. We need more collaborators and more advocates for the creative industry.
Every time you call, I'm going to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you.
Love.
You know, before we close out, I'm going to read just a few more comments from the chat. David Mosalomon says, even on another point, the creative industry has barely, if not gotten any help to develop over the years. And, you know, we've come such a long way, so we really do need the help to come in. And then Chris Monty says, whole cities are built around creative industries and support services. And we prefer to talk about creative city without actually doing anything about it. Well, there you have it, guys. Such an interesting conversation that will not stay as a conversation, of course. And as we've been saying, communicate and collaborate. So we invite you to be a part of that conversation. Please also, join us on our YouTube for all our events on the weekend. So for example, on this Sunday, we'll be having the Art Walk. And of course, you can join us on YouTube. And YouTube is where we will be until we can get out into the streets and be together again. So this Sunday, as you can see, it's dance. So we're gonna have Dance Fire, Edna Manley School of Dance, and Rochelle Malcolm. And we'll be streaming live from Waterlane. It is, Andrea.
Yeah, so we're starting the year off, getting back into the streets. So it's going to be what we call a phygital event, physical and digital. So
I like that. Say that again.
It's phygital.
Let's get phygital.
Well, okay, let's not dance.
Okay,
but
it's not a thing.
But no, it will never be a thing. But we will be in Waterlane with our 15 people in the little section that is quite large, and then we will be live streaming on YouTube as well. So we want everybody to tune in wherever you are in the world. Tune in and let's dance. Come this Sunday.
Wow, that's so amazing. So for all the information you need on the art walks, the meetups, you can follow Kingston Creative on Instagram, Kingston Creative JM, and I think on Twitter it's KGN Creative as well. So all the news you want to hear, it's there. This has been such a wonderful meetup.
It has, and so necessary.
Yes.
There are opportunities, we're going to make them, and advocacy is one way to make opportunities. You can't just sit quietly and have your business disintegrate. So
communicate
and collaborate.
There you have it. Thank you guys so much for joining us. This has been such a wonderful time. We are live from a beautiful spot in downtown Kingston. If you haven't been here, please come and co-work.
Kingston Creative Hub,
Absolutely.
107 Harbor Street.
And tell them again, Andrea, where the Artisan Club is, because there won't be a Market Street as usual.
Right.
But you can go and shop and get your things.
Absolutely. So right on our harbor, Ocean Boulevard, there is the UDC building, which is right next to Digicel. It's on the ground floor of the UDC building. So in Google Maps, put in 10 Ocean Boulevard and you'll find the shop. It's called the Artisan Collective Store. And everybody that you used to see in Market Street in the tents, they are there 24/7. You know, you can check them out anytime, but especially this Sunday on Art Walk Sunday, come down, visit, patronize the artisans. Again, they're in the creative industries and they need support too. So 10 Ocean Boulevard, the Artisan Collective Store. Check them out on Sunday.
Been a wonderful night. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you on Sunday. It's
See
just
you.
so.